Okay, short little video, hopefully short video. I'm going to do 3 little segments on it, a type thing, on musky fishing. So, first off, I'm going to start out with some of the essential items that you're going to need. Obviously rods, you're going to need a heavier action rod. Minimum I would go is 8 foot. Myself personally, I go 8.6 on my rods now, other than a couple are the Shimano Compre 8'6", and then I've got a couple 9'6" telescopic Shimano Skicks. On those I got the 400 series Tranks. I've got the high gear and obviously the regular gear and the power handles on all those. And my rubber rod, I've got a Calcutta Conquest in the 400 series as well. They're all spooled up with 80-pound Power Pro. And let's see, talk about leaders. Myself, I use the Husky Musky leaders right now. It's a 12-inch, 150-pound fluorocarbon leader. Like those, that's generally what I'm using for my bucktails, rubber, just a regular old like stick baits type thing. Metal wire leaders, steel leaders. I'm using the S-Pro or S-Pro, depends on how you want to say it. Leaders, those are also in 12-inch. Now these I generally use for my topwaters, glide baits, like your walk the dog style baits, like the Frantic Fred. I love them. There's no play in it. There's no stretch, no give, no bending. So it's actually direct action back and forth. It's direct contact with the bait, which is probably pretty essential when you want to keep it working the way it's supposed to be. Other things you need in the boat, you're going to need a set of long pliers. Obviously, any musky guy knows these are definitely an essential item. Good pair of spreaders. These are the Cuda spreaders. One click and you're open, you're good to go, really strong. A pair of bolt cutters. These aren't the greatest ones. These are, I don't know what I paid for these, not very much. Nipex is obviously the way to go if you're going to go get yourself a good set. A net. You're gonna need a big net. I see guys trying to put these giant fish in these little tiny walleye style nets. It's a terrible idea. I know it's what you've got, whatever. But if you can afford a big net, it's the way to go. I recommend the drifter net. Very affordable, huge. You can fit one of the kids in it, and I think they run around 160 bucks. I've had no issues. I put multiple fish in this. No holes in the net. No issues whatsoever. Bump board. Obviously, that's an essential if you want to get an accurate length on a fish. There's so many guys out there that guess at the size of them. I took a couple out there not long ago, and we got about a 31-inch fish at the very most, and they thought 100% it was all of 40 inches, and it's just pet peeve of mine. Whatever, get a bump board. You know 100% what you're not weighing in, but what you're measuring. Let's see what else. We can get into starter baits. What you're gonna need. You don't have to go out and spend a small fortune on baits right away. You can get it, you know, five essential style baits. Something like you're gonna need a topwater, rubber, glide baits, or a dive and rise. Bucktails. Obviously, bucktails are a massive one. That's probably, I would say 75% of what I use is bucktails, and there's a pile of bait makers out there for that, obviously. You're going to want those in different sizes, so, and different shades. You want a dark color, obviously, and your brighter colors, so that's a smaller size. These are just 8s. These are from a friend of mine, Brandon, at Georgian Bait Bucktails. Like these baits. 9 times out of 10, I'm going with the double 10s. Obviously, I like these bigger baits. I don't know why. Just there's something about them. They move a lot of water, create a lot of vibration. So that's obviously the purple. I got the gold blades on that, and then something a little bit brighter, gold on gold. Excellent baits to use. Let's see. Your topwaters. There's also a pile of these out there. These are Joe Booker's top raiders. You got the single and the double prop, obviously. There's stuff like the big mount, the Psycho Sister. That moves a heck of a ton of water, and I moved a pile of fish on that this season. Let's see. So your diving rise, obviously any guy that fishes muskie fairly often knows what the suic is. Thanks Brent, great lure, gave me that, and there's a different style, different color. Also again, light and versus the dark. Let's see, glide baits. So these are absolutely insane. I absolutely love these. This is the Hellhound. I've moved I don't know how many fish this season, hooked up with a bunch. I didn't like how it had the smaller hooks, so I tweaked it. I put number 7s on there. You can tweak them, obviously. It came with 5s. I threw the 7s on, hoping for a better hookup ratio. These sledge. Now there's a couple ways to use these. Most of the time I just straight retrieve these. They got such a slow action and a side-to-side wobble. A lot of guys do like a full-out draw, so they'll draw it down, let it rise back up, draw it down, rise back up, and that's also effective. Myself, I prefer the straight retrieve. Your rubber. You're definitely going to want some type of rubber. These always have a place in your arsenal. So that's Shadzilla. Most people know what those are, but Water Wolf. And then you've got the Medusa. This one has seen some fish. She's pretty chewed up, lost part of her tail there, and all marked up as well. What else are we looking for? Hard body baits. So I picked up a couple of these from the boys at Live Target. I'll be using these a lot more now that the weeds are dying. These are great on rockier style drop-offs, ledges, that type of stuff. Obviously you're not going to be ripping these right through the weeds because you're going to be caught up the entire time. Great bait, great for right now. Fish are putting those big feed bags on, so it's a great bait to go to. So there's a few baits you should probably stick to. You got your top waters, your glide baits, your diving rise, your rubber, and I guess your hard body baits. I don't know if I said that already. I'll make a list here right after this. So talk a little bit about different techniques while you're out there and what to look for. Where to start actually would be a good one. So many people, now this is again for the more inexperienced people, that assume that the larger fish are in deeper water, which obviously isn't, not true whatsoever. They all have their time of season where they are in deeper water, but generally if you're fishing these fish throughout the summer, for myself personally, I'm fishing weed edges, cabbage, generally in 4 feet. My largest fish came out at just under 3 feet, and that was last year, just off of a cabbage weed bed. So don't be afraid to hit those spots. Good rule of thumb, if you know where the bass are, generally the muskie are not far away. But I fish both these in the exact same spots all the time. Drop-offs, anywhere you can get a drop-off in a deeper water or a point or windswept point. Points are a huge one for me. I hit those all the time. That's my go-to almost. What else can we start with there? Going back on spots. So if you've moved a fish, never ever be afraid to go back on it. Wait, half hour, hour and a half, whatever. But go back with something different generally. So if you've had that fish follow and she's turned away at the boat, or she started to go into a figure 8, you can actually judge the behavior too. So if you got a slow follow, I don't know if it's more curious or what, or they're just sizing up the bait. But a general rule for me is if a slow follow, you're not going to get that fish to go. You get those ones that are darting in and out or that take off fast. Those ones are generally going to come back right back out. Prime example, we went out the other day with a friend of mine, Greg. We hit a spot, we had a fish follow in on the top water. She turned off really fast, like 8 feet out type thing. So we waited about 2 hours, went back with a bucktail. Sure as heck, the same spot. She came out, came from the deeper water, didn't even see her, turned on a bucktail, flattened the blades, and buggered off again. We waited maybe 20 minutes at this point. We're done the end of our day. I went back with the rubber, and on the 3rd cast in, she smoked it. She had a nice fat 45-inch fish. It was really cool. I played out at that time. What else? Judging a follow, throwback baits. So yeah, throwback baits. These are baits that, so like I said, you get that follow in. it's always good to go back with something different, either smaller, larger, slower. Generally I'd stay away from a topwater in that type of case. Topwater always has its own special place and time for me. First thing in the morning, last light obviously, and times overcast days with a slight chop. I've done very, very well at this with the topwater then. I don't know what it is, they just fire right up. Let's see, another little tip. So the figure eights, myself I'm guilty, I don't always figure eight. I usually do an L turn at the boat at the very least if I'm not figure eighting. As you're watching your lure coming in, I generally watch 4 to 6 feet behind it just to see what's going on. As I get closer to the boat, about 5 feet-ish type thing, I'll look to where I'm turning into. Small tip, but it could save you or help you catch that fish. If you're turning into weeds, obviously those blades or whatever you're reeling in gets put off by weeds or flattened out or whatever the case may be. It's not going to operate properly. That fish is going to lose interest. So have a quick peek, see where you're turning into, and you can avoid those flat sections where you might lose that fish. Let's see. Oh yeah, fishing with partners. This is a great one. You got 2 guys in the boat. Obviously, for me, try running 2 different baits completely. One guy's throwing topwater, one's throwing bucktail, one's throwing rubber, one's throwing whatever, a glide bait, whatever it may be. You can see what's working fairly well that day. It works and works and works. I don't know what it is. It's just you can judge. Once you're out there enough, you can actually judge their behavior and see what they're interested in. It definitely helps to try different things. Obviously, more lines out the better, and see what's working that day. What else can we talk about? Trolling motors. When you're running your trolling motor, this one, anybody that's fished with me, it's probably annoying, but after I cast, I get right on the trolling motor. Generally, I want that, but my retrieve halfway back, I don't want to be having that trolling motor running. So as I'm casting, I'm generally on the trolling motor, keeping my same pattern, and that way the trolling motor's not running. There's not going to be any fish scared off. It's a simple little tip, but it actually works. What else can we talk about? Bump boards. Before you throw that fish, if you do get lucky enough to catch one, and you've got yourself a bump board, make sure you soak it in the water first. Just get it wet and keep that slime on those fish. Obviously, a dry bump board and those fish sticking to it's not the greatest thing for the fish. Another thing for me, I don't take my fish out of the net until the hooks and everything are out. So if we bag a fish, that net stays in the water over the edge the whole time until the hooks are out. Usually get prepared. Everything's set in my boat ahead of time, so I got the bump boards there, the GoPro if you want your 2-man type photo thing. All the pliers are up front, everything is set, so the faster you get that fish back in the water and release, the better. Same thing afterwards too. If you take those pictures out, it doesn't hurt to hold that fish in the net, throw them right back in the bag, let them recoup, and it makes for a much nicer, cleaner release. Obviously that fish deserves it at that size. They're older fish. Figure eight's the other one. Here's another one I try to always tell people. Keep 2 hands on the rod. I don't know how many times I've watched in videos, guys. They're holding their rod like this. They've got their thumb and their index finger, and they're just doing these figure eights with whatever bait they've got on out in the water. If that fish comes up and actually decides to smuck that bait while you've got 2 fingers on it, I don't care if you're the Incredible Hulk, you're not holding on to that rod. 1 hand, obviously, if you really have to, but 2 hands definitely ideal. And the longer the rod, obviously, like that's why I said in the beginning of this, 8'6" is my shortest rod. 9'6", amazing. You can do so much with a 9'6" rod. You could turn it way out there, especially on those bigger fish that have got that larger radius turns. Hopefully this helps. If there's any questions, you can obviously throw them down in the comment box, and I'll try to answer them. To my buddies that I know are gonna jump all over this and try and trash me, I'm expecting it. That's fine. Fly at her. I don't care. Anyways guys, hopefully it helps. Any questions, post them below.